So what do you do when everyone sells the same thing? Right? So pretty soon, Rackspace internationally is going to start reselling Office 365. Great product, but all these other partners sell it. So how do you become different? Why would someone buy from Rackspace and not someone else? Right? That's the question that we have to answer. And this is not new. This is something that we've done for years. We've been around since 1999, right? So, but this is something we have to figure out. If everyone does the same thing, if they sell the same service, sell the same product, how do you become different? What is your differentiator? And we're going to go through just a couple of options. Hey, some of them work for other companies, some of them don't. And I'll tell you why support worked for us. So sometimes you can pick price, right? The problem is that most of us aren't Apple or Microsoft or Google. We don't have billions in the bank. We're not Amazon. It's tough to compete on price. When you go down as low as you can go, it makes things, I think things suffer at the end of the day. And so Rackspace has never been able to decide on or really try to fight that price battle. The one time we did, it didn't really work out well for us. We found that the price is wrong. Don't go low. Put value on it. What is that value? For us, it's going to be support. For others, it could be something different. You can also pick that niche market, right? You want to go into a localized area. You know this market better than anyone else, and that could be a great fit. When you become more of a global company like Rackspace, we had to pick something that can fit anywhere in the world, right? We had to have something that would fit in Hong Kong and Sydney, in Russia, in London, in Mexico City, and all over the United States. We had to pick something that kind of spread that thing. So we couldn't just pick one market. Because a lot of times you can pick the wrong market. If you're from the US, you've heard of the name Sears, and they thought that the best way to sell to women was to put a big group of white middle-aged guys in a boardroom and have them decide, right? Not a good way to decide or determine how you're going to sell to women. They picked the wrong market, or at least the wrong way to go to market. You can also try to make your product better. I know there are a number of partners here, there are customers here, they have products, it's good, and you can continue to innovate. One thing that we kind of realized at Rackspace is we are a service company, right? Product companies, we do have products, don't get me wrong, but producing those products, it's a different ball game as opposed to providing a service. So maybe your product can be better, maybe it might not be, right? Maybe someone else can come in, and is there a low barrier to entry? Can someone take over your market? Can someone do it better than you did, right? So for us, again, it kind of takes us back, why didn't we choose like price or market? We chose the Fanatical support. Raise your hand if you have to hire anybody. Are you in charge of hiring? Right? Okay, me too. Yeah, there are a couple of us. So you can hire the right people, right? I need this type of person to go sell this type of product or this type of service. Look, it's a good way to get in there. It's a good way to be successful. It's also tough because we all know, raise your hand if you ever hired someone bad, right? I have made mistakes. They wowed me in the interview. When I brought them on board, it just didn't make sense. At the time, I wasn't working for Rackspace. I didn't quite understand the culture that I was trying to bring this person into. And it's probably as much my fault as it was theirs. So whatever you choose, by the way, this is my son Tyson. He goes into every presentation that I ever do. He says hi. But whatever you choose, just really dig into, and that's what we'll go over the next few slides. Whatever you choose, bake it in. For us, Fanatical support at Rackspace, it is everything we do. It's from the initial interview to the exit interview. And look, it's not saying that we're always perfect. We're definitely not. I know I'm not. I want to be Fanatical all the time, and that's what customers want from me. Is they understand that I'm not perfect, but they know that I want to be perfect and Fanatical every day. So bake it in, whatever you choose. If it's price, go for it. If it's market, go for it. If it's the right people or right type of people, go for it. Bake it in. And here's how some of the ways you do that. Raise your hand if you have stated values at your company that you publish that everyone follows. It's pretty typical, okay? What about that vision statement? Is it up on the walls? Right? Is it on your letterhead? Business cards? Do you have open books, where you invite the entire company into and just sit down and let's talk? First, let's make sure that we're understanding our values, understanding vision. And so when we talk about support, what makes us different and why we chose it is it's part of our DNA, right? Again, we're not always perfect, we know that, but this is what drives us. This is what happens when you have a bad day at work. You know what? Tomorrow I want to do better, right? Or I want to stay a little bit longer and fix it. This is what it kind of comes. This is why great support matters when everybody's selling the same thing, right? When everyone's doing the same thing, what sets you apart? This is just something we do. Know that we put someone in a straitjacket every month. Raise your hand. It's pretty cool. It's interesting to tell somebody, Rackers just take it for granted, right? Yeah, a straitjacket. Like, what does that mean? It's like this person went just over and above, somehow, some way. Not only that, but someone or some group of people recognized that effort and then nominated them. So it's not something that like executive leaders say, you know what, this person's awesome, let's give them an award. This is something that's recognized by your peers and then you're voted on. We have a winner right here in front, right? Last April, won the jacket. Put him in a jacket in front of everybody. Amazing experience, right? That's talking about putting it in your DNA. So when you do stuff like this, you can get stakeholders to believe, right? And it's easy to believe during hard or easy times. Economy's great, right? Earnings are awesome. What if they're not? If stakeholders are that it's built into the DNA, like it is at Rackspace, stakeholders believe we can do amazing things even when we're struggling a bit. Because at the end of the day, sorry, bad stuff does happen, right? It does hit the fan. What are you going to do, right? I mean, you have to be able to respond. The world is not perfect, and it's okay. But if you're ready for it, this is like what Rackspace, we know bad stuff's going to happen, but you're still going to be able to pick up the phone and talk to us. If we're going to be transparent, we're going to be part of the solution, right? You have to be. I failed you. I'm not going to fail you again. This is how I failed. This is how we're going to improve it, right? We also, across the board, have some of the best SLAs. Again, it just kind of goes back to support. No one does 100% uptime. It's not possible. I mean, every once in a while it is. For periods of time it is. But what happens when things go bad, right? Be transparent. Be part of the solution. Raise your hand if you've ever received an NPS survey from Rackspace. Okay, a couple. Raise your hand if you ask your customers how they feel about you. Okay. Yeah. So if you don't know what NPS is, because there are a couple people that in the mix didn't raise their hand, just it's a way, and there's a quick, real short video from a guy named Lou Morman, who's just one of the first amazing rackers, talks about why we do NPS. You can do NPS, you can do all sorts of things. Basically, it's how likely are you to recommend Rackspace to someone else? How often, or how likely are you to recommend me to someone else? And when you ask someone that, you can rate on a scale of 1 to 10, right? 10s and 9s are great. 8s and 7s, they're okay. 6 through 0, probably not going to recommend anybody. I will say it's the toughest lesson that I learned coming to UK. As an American, we're like, oh, you got a 10, awesome. But I read every NPS. So we NPS hundreds of people just from Cloud Office every month. I read all of them, okay? And I focus, especially down here, what's not going well. And I can tell you, as soon as I hit the ground in the UK, I get 5s and 6s and 7s. The comments that you can leave, you guys are awesome. Love it. 7. It's just a natural, what I've learned dealing with the wonderful people in the UK, they don't like to give good compliments. They don't think really anybody should probably get a 9 or 10, and that's okay. It took a little bit of adjustment for me building into it. It's like the comments were great. They loved us. 8. 8 for me counts as a 0. It doesn't give you anything in NPS. But it's for us, it's a great way. We do this where we ask all of our customers at some point. We also, if you've ever done a ticket, the person that responded to that ticket, you get to NPS them as well. Right? Did they help you? Would you recommend them to someone else? Right? That's pretty cool. And that starts driving, you'll see in the video, or here in the video, where it just kind of starts driving executive decisions. Strategy. If our NPS drops, what are we doing wrong? If our customers won't recommend us, what are we doing wrong? Again, this is one of those easier things where it's not price, it's not market, it's about support. You can NPS on this. We even NPS products. Would you recommend this product to someone else? Not just Rackspace, if you could buy it anywhere. Would you NPS this product? Would you recommend this product? So why do we ask? Why do we do all this stuff, right? One, it can have an impact across the company. So when we've chosen support and gone down that route, the reason why we did it is because if we do it right, it has an impact across the company. This is sales, this is support, this is the front of the house when you come in, this is the back of the house when they're doing all the facilities, right? This is everything about what we do. If you do it right, it has an impact across the entire company. It allowed us to scale growth the right way. If we had gone into the price wars, which we tried to for a little bit, wow, it's painful if you don't have that type of money in the bank. If you can't compete at that level. And while Rackspace is nice and big, I think it's perfect size. We're not. I met a VP a couple weeks ago, and pretty sure his division was 4 times bigger than my entire company, right? Like it's just different. But we scaled the right way, right? We know when to hire people. A little story, it can reduce defection if you do it right. I learned about me a long time ago that I was a competitor in high school and college in the US. I wrestled. And one thing that I found out pretty early on is I hate losing more than I like winning. And for me, reducing defection, right, providing that fanatical experience, if I don't, I lose. It's not about winning, it's about losing, and I hate to lose. And this is about those goldfish going to someone else. If we're all going to sell Office 365 like Cloud Office is, if I don't do it right, you're going to leave us and you're going to go somewhere else. We want you to stay, right? We want you to stay because if you stay in our bowl and we get to increase profits. For us, we're a public company. For you, you might not be. But for us, we have people to answer to. Actually, everyone has people to answer to. Right? But we have those shareholders. We have to increase profits. So not only do we, this is winning, for reducing churn is not losing, and I don't like to lose. And I don't think many people at Rackspace do either. So kind of just at the end, and open up the questions if you want. Think about what makes you different in the market. What we've gone through, and look, I'm looking over there at the beer chart. I never take 50 minutes, so you don't have to worry about staying in here too long. But think about what makes you different, right? Think about what separates you. If we're all going to sell the same stuff or very similar stuff, similar products, similar services, we do it. They're out there. There's a limited amount of things that we can all sell. What makes you different? Whatever you choose, bake it in, right? Make it a part of your DNA, whether it's you, your employees, into your customers even. This is why we do an event like Solve, right? Because we bring customers in that can talk about things that we've done for them, right? And if you listen to them, it goes back to that fanatical experience that customer had with Rackspace. Yes, the product they were utilizing, consuming was great. It did what they needed to do, but it did what they needed to do because a racker or a group of rackers was with them, right? So that's what it means to us. So from there, questions. Awesome question, because it's one, and I'll answer it two different ways, but one, it's something that we still work for every day. Yesterday, we were in a meeting talking about what is fanatical support. So fanatical support is a warm and fuzzy feeling. But for rackers, for me, the way I would define fanatical support is I've never made an escalation call, like if I have an angry customer on the team, or they've called in, I never call from my desk phone. I call from my mobile phone because I want that customer to know they have my mobile phone, they can reach me 24/7. That's the way I can be fanatical, right? But if you know anything about the origin of Rackspace, back in the beginning, before fanatical support came about, it was the purpose of technical support to route you through as many voicemails as possible. That was it. That was Rackspace's. That's where we started. It's like, how can you get a customer so angry and staying on the phone for at least 20 to 30 minutes, leaving, going, let's transfer you to this. That was Rackspace's model. And I do forget the guy's name, but he came in and he's like, you know what, this is ridiculous. Like, it doesn't separate us from the market. Everyone, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, everyone was providing crappy support, right? It's like, what is going to set us different, right? We have good funding, but we're not going to go on a price war. Right? Rackspace has always been more expensive, in my opinion. I used to work for a company called Plesk, and Rackspace kept us alive every 2 weeks by funding us, right? I mean, Rackspace has always been a good company, but they kind of made that decision. It can't be that way. It has to be something that sets us apart. And so going back to how do you define it, I define it my way. But it's one of those cool things about Rackspace is every day rackers are talking about what does it mean to be fanatical, right? What does that mean? Sometimes it's fanatical to say no. No to a customer because it just doesn't make sense. No, sir, we can't take your business. It's not the right way. And the customers don't want to hear that because they want, what customer's right. I want you to be able to do this for me. You guys are Rackspace. You guys provide fanatical support. Doesn't always mean yes, right? And so I think it's an evolving thing, but I think it's doing the right thing and doing it to the best of your ability. Everyone wants to win that jacket. It does go down to hiring, okay? We have a pretty rigorous hiring process where we look for those type of people that we feel that can be rackers, like what we call ourselves, right? Also, when you come into the company, you spend weeks kind of going through what we call Rookie-O, and it's just kind of getting into that program. And then after that, it's every wall that you'll walk through, if you remember that slide, our vision and our core values. We talk about those core values as managers. Every year we do something called a Racker Pulse. So we go internal and say, hey guys, all you rackers, 6,000 rackers, on a scale of 1 to 10, would you recommend Rackspace? Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, would you recommend your direct manager? And we look at that, then you can do verbatims and all sorts of comments, but twice a year we do that. And if scores are down, if things look bad, I can tell you as a manager, I get great direction from our HR group to go in and say, address Rack or Pulse. Like for weeks after we do it, it's addressing Rack or Pulse. It's like, where do we fail? If a manager, might be struggling, right? And so their manager is going to step in and see if there's remediation, if there's help they can do, because it's building in kind of that culture of, that vision of the core values. So the only way I can answer is it's constant. It is something that we do almost every day. Yeah, no, it's tough. And Rackspace, look, I'm in July, I celebrate my second 5th anniversary. So 10 years with the company, and it's tough. And it's tough. It's things like that we definitely struggle with. But then what I can tell you, it's an absolute priority when we go into those new markets, when we open up that new business or that new area. We're not going to go here if we can't provide the same level of service. Right, and so we go into it with that in mind. It's not, oh, this is a great market to get into. Let's build something and see what happens. It's, can we provide Fanatical support? Can we provide the service first in that area? And then we start looking if it makes sense otherwise.